A moment that was truly never imagined before has shaken the international entertainment world. In a historic stadium that became the center of attention for millions of eyes, Taehyung appeared as the first pitcher in a major event at Dodger Stadium. However, behind the spotlight of cameras and loud applause, one surprise turned the already dramatic atmosphere into something even more emotional. When the entire audience focused on Taehyung, he suddenly stopped for a moment at a sight that made his heart tremble. He found a figure he knew very well, Jungkook, present among thousands of audience seats. That brief glance was enough to change the atmosphere, and instantly the public began to wonder, was this just a coincidence, or was there a bigger message behind Jungkook's presence? That moment left a huge question mark that continues to be discussed. Why did Taehyung look so shocked that his eyes seemed unable to believe who he had just seen? Jungkook, who is known as someone who rarely appears in public crowds without a clear reason, this time showed up at such a monumental event. His presence seemed to be an emotional signal that could not be ignored. ARMY reacted strongly on social media, some crying in tears, others describing it as undeniable proof that the relationship between Taehyung and Jungkook is more than just fellow group members. The question now is, was this merely a friendly visit, or was it a symbolic statement shown before the world? Taehyung himself seemed unable to hide his surprise. Cameras captured how he stopped for several seconds, his eyes directed straight at Jungkook sitting in the stands. In the entertainment world where everything is carefully planned, spontaneous moments like this are almost impossible without a certain meaning. When Taehyung then waved his hand, as if sending a signal of gratitude, the stadium's cheers grew louder. Fans who witnessed it directly described the atmosphere as a moment of ARMY in tears because of the overwhelming emotion. The question echoed even louder. Why did Jungkook choose to show up that day, in that place, and in such a grand moment? When seen more deeply, this event is not only about two figures who happen to be in the same location. It is about the symbol of friendship, loyalty, and perhaps also an emotional acknowledgement shown publicly. Taehyung, who was at the peak of attention, received support from the person he trusted most. That mix of surprise and happiness revealed the human side of a great star who often has to hold back his emotions before millions of eyes. But this time, that expression was real, could not be hidden, and touched the hearts of anyone who witnessed it. ARMY in various parts of the world immediately flooded social media with emotional tears. Taekook Forever became a repeated chant, as if they had rediscovered the reason why the relationship of these two figures always attracts global attention. How could it be, in the midst of long issues about member separation, that such a simple moment could bring forth such a great sense of unity? Was Jungkook's presence a hidden message to remind everyone that true friendship will not disappear even if the world tries to separate them? The fact that Jungkook did not appear as an official part of the event, but only as an audience member, actually made the atmosphere even more emotional. His presence was not announced, not publicized beforehand, and completely unpredictable. It was precisely this surprise that strengthened the meaning behind it. Jungkook seemed to want to show that sincere support does not always have to be on the same stage, but simply by being present in the right place at an unforgettable moment. And for Taehyung, that support clearly looked very meaningful. The global media spotlight is now directed at one thing: Taehyung's honest reaction. With an expression of shock that turned into a heartfelt smile, he waved his hand, a simple gesture yet full of meaning. Many interpreted that wave not only as directed at Jungkook, but also as a signal to ARMY that he felt grateful to have a friend who remained by his side. That wave was then translated by the public as a symbol of togetherness that remained strong, even though many parties tried to doubt it. This phenomenon shows how a brief moment can create a huge emotional wave. From one glance, one wave, to a spontaneous reaction, everything blended to form a narrative that is now the subject of wide debate. Some call it proof of an emotional closeness that no one can break. Others see it as a representation that BTS is not just a music group, but a family tied with deep emotional bonds. The question grew stronger. Was this Taehyung and Jungkook's way of affirming to the world that they still support each other even though their separate paths are starting to become more visible? Behind ARMY's tears of emotion lies a deeper anxiety. Why are only Taehyung and Jungkook always in the spotlight of moments like this? Is this coincidence? Or is there a certain dynamic that keeps the two connected in big moments? Jungkook's presence this time seemed to break the stigma that their relationship had grown distant, instead showing that the support is real and strong. But at the same time, a critical question arises. Was all of this mere spontaneity, or was there a hidden message deliberately displayed before the world? ARMY could not remain silent. Social media reactions showed how this event left both pain and happiness. Pain from realizing how heavy the pressure they may feel, and happiness from finally witnessing an undeniable moment of emotional intimacy. Taekook Forever was not just a slogan, but an emotional cry from millions who felt that the relationship of these two magnates was a representation of the strength of true friendship. No camera was able to fully capture the meaning of that moment, except for the eyes of fans who had long awaited something like this. Taehyung's shocked reaction, the brief wave, and the emotional gaze towards Jungkook became eternal proof in public memory. The question now is, how long will this event continue to echo? Will it spark a new wave of support for member unity? Or instead create debates that further divide views? In one brief moment at Dodger Stadium, the world was reminded again that sometimes the simplest things are the most meaningful. Taehyung's surprise, Jungkook's unannounced presence, and ARMY's emotional tears, all blended into a grand narrative that will always be remembered. And in the midst of the uproar, one sentence kept echoing, Taekook Forever. The event that shook Dodger Stadium and involved two great names, Taehyung and Jungkook, continues to spark waves of reaction that never subside. Yet a fundamental question now arises. Are we truly witnessing an authentic moment? Or is all this merely part of a media construction deliberately designed to attract global attention? Are ARMY's tears a pure response to emotional surprise, or are they unconsciously being led to believe in a narrative carefully crafted? In the midst of euphoria, we cannot close our eyes to the fact that the information circulating comes from various platforms that cannot always be verified. Video clips from TikTok, snippets from YouTube, posts from Twitter, to opinions from various online media form a complex web of information. But does this chain of information truly reflect reality, or is it an illusion polished to appear more dramatic? Why are we seemingly forced to believe that Jungkook's presence at Dodger Stadium is an undeniable major event, when perhaps that moment was only captured from a particular perspective full of interpretation? Every startled movement of Taehyung, every wave of his hand, to the brief gaze toward the stands, has been analyzed in excessive detail by many parties. But the question we must ask is, are these analyses based on facts, or merely assumptions reinforced by the desire to see something that never actually existed? Is it possible that Taehyung's shocked expression was just an ordinary reflex that happened to coincide with Jungkook's presence and nothing more? If so, why was the public so quick to link the two in an emotional narrative that shook global media? The ARMY in tears phenomenon dominating social media seems to have moved the emotions of millions of fans. But did this outpouring of emotion really come from a real event? Or was it triggered by a viral narrative deliberately amplified to spark public engagement? If the moment was truly sincere, how can we be sure that the cameras were not deliberately directed to capture that interaction, then reinforcing the dramatic impression? Or conversely, are certain parties deliberately letting this narrative grow because they know how powerful its emotional impact is on the ARMY community? The criticism that must be raised is why only these two figures, Taehyung and Jungkook, are constantly made the center of public drama. Does this reflect the reality of their relationship? Or is it a certain strategy to keep public attention focused on their dynamics? If so, who actually benefits from all this? Is it ARMY, who feel they have rediscovered the closeness of their two idols, or rather those who deliberately create controversy to strengthen their position in the world's eyes? Every time the name Taekook appears on timelines, discussions always spread and dominate global conversations. But does this phenomenon truly arise from pure interaction between the two, Or is there a certain pattern deliberately maintained to always create sensation? If we look closely, almost every moment of togetherness between them always becomes the main viral material, while interactions with other members rarely get this much attention. Is this mere coincidence, or evidence of a selective narrative deliberately built? Many ARMY confidently wrote "Taekook Forever" after witnessing this incident. But isn't it more critical to ask, is a brief moment at Dodger Stadium enough to prove an eternal bond? Or is it merely a reflection of fans' deep desire to believe that the two have a more special relationship? If there really is such strong emotional closeness, why must it be shown in a public moment full of camera spotlights, rather than in more authentic private interactions? Provocative statements must be raised at this point. Are the public being manipulated by visual illusions? Have cameras and social media taken too big a role in determining how we interpret every celebrity interaction? Why are we so quick to accept emotional impressions without first verifying the wider context? Was Taehyung really waving at Jungkook solely out of gratitude, or could that wave have been directed to anyone among the thousands of spectators? If so, have we not fallen into the trap of excessive interpretation created by collective narrative? What is more concerning is how mass emotions can be easily directed by short video clips or certain snapshots. The important question we must ask is, are we still able to distinguish between objective fact and subjective interpretation? Or have we lost control, letting social media dictate what we should feel, think, and believe? If so, isn't this a sign that phenomena like Taekook Forever are more of a social construct than actual reality? In a broader context, this phenomenon also teaches us about the fragility of the boundary between reality and delusion. Was Jungkook's presence at Dodger Stadium a form of sincere support born from true friendship, or a predicted scenario designed to create sensation? Are ARMY's tears proof of pure love, or proof that public emotion can easily be mobilized by a deliberately constructed narrative? And if all this is merely an arrangement, have we not all become part of a larger game, where truth is obscured for certain gains? We do not intend to blame anyone, but it is important to reaffirm that the information currently circulating comes from sources that are not necessarily fully verified. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and other online media have indeed become the main channels for spreading this moment. But can these sources be considered valid references? Or instead, do they only reinforce opinions that may not reflect the real reality? At this point, skepticism is key. We must dare to ask, does this news truly portray reality, or is it just a cleverly packaged hoax to draw the world's attention? This is the reflection we must now do together. Do we truly believe that the moment of Taehyung's surprise seeing Jungkook at Dodger Stadium is pure reality, or are we actually just enjoying a performance deliberately staged? Are we willing to be passive consumers of sensational narratives, or will we choose to be critical viewers who question every detail before believing it? In the end, the choice is in our hands as readers, viewers, and part of the global community connected by this phenomenon.